Our second to last stop on pilgrimage was in Peoria, Illinois, where we had a chance to visit the Cathedral and the tomb of Bishop Fulton Sheen. Bishop Fulton Sheen, I had the opportunity when his body was in New York in the cathedral to visit him down in the crypt on one of my trips and pilgrimages. And now here I am having the opportunity to go to Peoria, to his final resting place. Peoria Cathedral was important to Sheen in his lifetime. It is where the diocese that he became a diocesan priest. It is also where, as an altar server, he served, and the Bishop Spalding gave the prophetic witness of who Bishop Sheen ultimately would become someday as a great theologian as well as a bishop. It's also where he knew that he wanted to become a priest during his first communion. For me, it was during the consecration of the Eucharist at Mass. We woke up early, went to Mass in Peoria, and at the consecration of the Eucharist, I had this realization that I had this unconfessed sin. I had confessed parts of the sin, but there was a part of the sin that I never even thought about. And I realized I had this unconfessed sin on my soul. And so I had wanted to go to confession, but I knew that that would probably not be an opportunity. So after Mass, early morning Mass, I went over to see Bishop Sheen's tomb to pray, and I knew that I would make a plan when I got back to Houston to go to confession. Well, the priest came over. He opened up where we could go and touch the tomb. And after he opened up, he just kind of stood there. As he stood there, I just remember being like, you should ask him about going to confession. And I thought, no, don't ask. He just did an early morning Mass, which means that he'll probably go have breakfast. And finally, I just kept feeling that prompting, like, you literally during Mass had this spiritual gift of, there's a confession. I want you to be pure and clean. And so I asked the Father if he would allow me, if he would hear my confession. And Father, of course, was so kind and generous, and he said yes. And so we went to the confessional, and I was able to confess this sin. I told him, my last confession's a day ago, but I realized today at Mass that there's a sin that I've never confessed that I didn't realize. And if you've ever heard me talk about trying to grow in union with God, there's two things that we need to do. One, we need to detach from sin. And two, we need to have a regular prayer life. It's very hard to have a regular prayer life, to hear God speaking to you if you have sin blocking that noise. And so for me, it was a beautiful gift that I had that realization at Mass of this unconfessed sin. I would say that it was this great spiritual grace, supernatural, because all of a sudden to have that realization of that sin kind of flash in my mind, and to realize you've never confessed this part of this sin. It was a beautiful blessing for me. So I was able to go to confession, and then I was able to come back and to give thanks at the tomb of Fulton Sheen, and asking for two prayers. One for the Christian Renewal Center that I've continued to carry with me, that we are able to raise the funds or have the land donated by the Scantlin Foundation to buy the 21-acre tract, as well as to do God's will. After that, we had a chance, we had breakfast, and then we headed over to the Fulton Sheen Museum, where we were able to see various artifacts of Sheen's life. We were able to see vestments. We were able to see his pictorial cross. We were able to see things such as his writing desk. It was kind of neat because it said, when we think about, becoming a saint, what really it does, what's required to become a saint is to love much. He's like, being a saint's not that difficult. We just have to love a lot. And I think this is something we can all grow in our love of the Lord. One of the things that I love about Fulton Sheen is he always, no matter how busy he got, no matter maybe how important it looked like he got, he always took a daily holy hour. I think that is critical for you and I as well. I know maybe you're not able to get access to a church, but can you take time every single day to spend in prayer? Can we spend that time with Christ? And I think that's a great lesson we can learn from Fulton Sheen. Fulton Sheen, ultimately a great statesman, really did a wonderful job of helping to spread the faith in this country, to teach the faith, to catechize. When I think about what Mary asked at the Marian Shrine and Champion, it was to catechize the people, to catechize the children. And I know what a wonderful job Fulton Sheen has done. Though I did not know Fulton Sheen when he was living, his words have left a very important legacy in my life, as well as my grandma Brown, who did meet Fulton Sheen on multiple occasions through her job in the Archdiocese of Indianapolis. He left a legacy with her that she was able to hand down to me. And I know so many people have that new Fulton, have an encounter, having a memory with him. So I want to encourage all of us to be mindful of how can we help to spread the faith. And if we want to spread the faith, well, I think it's important that we make sure that we spend time with God so that what we are spreading is God and not just us. Some of the other things that I thought was really neat that I was able to see at the shrine and at the cathedral. You saw different various artifacts from him from the time. You also saw, obviously some images of him. You see him young. I love at Vatican Council too. You see a young Benedict XVI with an older Fulton Sheen. Fulton Sheen was at Vatican Council too. This is the document he wrote, The Mission of the World. So I think that's a pretty neat legacy. You see the whole process of their canonization. They're showing you all the documents and everything that's going through for the canonization process. Fulton Sheen is currently at Venerable. This was the high school that he went to. It's just right downtown Peoria. So this was the high school. This is also the spot that it showed where Father Marquette originally came with the crossing. So you see the history of other people that have helped to come to build a faith. This was a crossing. This is St. Isaac Jogues, who's known as one of the North American martyrs as a Jesuit. We see the black robes coming to the natives and just what the impact they had, ultimately allowing Venerable Bishop Baraga to, do what he needed to do. And what I love about the USA Saints is these are people that are accessible to us. They're so close in our lifetime. The cathedral had windows where they showed the image of the country, and then they showed the impact of how the faith was brought to that country. And it wasn't just for the USA. They had that for many countries. They had the country still, and then who was it that brought the faith? And I love that because I can think in my own life, who are the people that have brought me the faith? And of course, at the end, we were able to go and visit their adoration chapel and to pray before the Blessed Sacrament. And the last thing that I'll say is this was an image he had, Our Lady of the Television. And so often we can think, how can we bring Mary with us to our ministry and our role? Venerable Fulton Sheen, pray for us.